we have kind of our basic findings that have been shown not just in one project or another, but in kind of all of our research over 15 plus years. And so those data points are things like, yes, women are more likely than men to give to charity. Women are giving higher amounts than what we call similarly situated men. And so we don't compare, the average woman with the average man. We're comparing, women and men in the same income bracket, same education, same age, et cetera, so that we know that men hold the bulk of wealth in our society. And so we're kind of accounting for that. So accounting for that, women are more generous in these different ways. One thing that we also know is that women spread their giving out among different causes, different organizations. And we believe that's one reason why, when you think of a philanthropist, at least until recently, people often thought of men, of kind of our biggest male donors, both presently and throughout history, because they are tending to invest all of their philanthropic funding in one organization or maybe a couple of organizations. Women are giving smaller amounts all over the place. And so even if their total giving might be the same, or they have the same capacity to give, they aren't receiving the same amount of recognition. And they're also not receiving the same amount of solicitations by major gift officers, for example, because they're not showing up on those wealth screenings as much. And then we know that women give in a different way. So women tend to give not just broadly to a lot of causes, but they tend to give holistically. So we see, when men think about their charitable giving, they think about check writing to 501c3s. When women think about charitable giving, they are trying to use all of their resources to be generous. And so, yes, that's 501c3s. If they're interested in policy issues, it's 501c4s. It is beyond just money. It's volunteering their time. It's serving on a committee, volunteering their expertise. It's as little as sharing about an organization or a cause on social media, as big as, the Melinda French Gateses of the world really talking about issues from a huge public platform. It's, I can donate this small amount, but I have a bunch of friends who care about this cause, and I'm going to bring them alongside me and build relationships between them and this cause or organization. So we find that women are expressing generosity in a much more expansive way compared to men. And that's not to say that men aren't generous. They certainly are, but they are generous in these really specific ways. And for really specific reasons. And we just find that women are more attuned to the needs of the organizations, more focused on the end result, the end recipient, as opposed to this organization has a golf fundraiser, or this organization has so-and-so who's my, CEO, and I really want to interact there, and I'm going to donate for that reason. I think that any philanthropic gift is great. It's going to serve a purpose, but we know that women's giving is done for different, broader, more connection-based reasons.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And when you're talking about this idea of women getting more involved, I saw something on LinkedIn the other day, or a couple weeks ago, saying affinity trumps capacity. And I think a lot of people talk about, they see the millions of dollars being poured into grassroots organizations, and they're like, well, why can't we get that? And it's because, yes, that donor might have the capacity to give, but they don't have the affinity to your organization. So can you talk a little bit more about what the difference is and why it's important to have both?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that is a great shorthand. I haven't heard that one before, but it is so aligned with our work and what our research has found. Affinity trumps capacity. I'm going to take that one with me. Yeah, we know that the world needs more philanthropy. There are so many serious problems facing our world, our society, our nation. And our belief is simply that to successfully work towards a better world, we need more philanthropy, and that needs to come from men and women. And so we are doing this research essentially to show donors how they can become more engaged in philanthropy. A lot of women donors don't necessarily grow up feeling like a philanthropist is something I can become. This is a word that describes me. I have financial philanthropic power, and I am going to be a leader in this space. It's just not something that a lot of women are brought up to think or believe about themselves. And then we're also here to make sure that fundraisers know how to effectively engage women donors. So, a lot of the kind of standard practices that fundraisers have been trained into or have been kind of brought up in the field doing are based on this paradigm of the not just male donor, but the white, wealthy male donor. And that's not to say that they are not wonderful givers and that their money does wonderful things for our organizations. They're very important. But when your whole system has been built on appealing to one specific type of donor, you're just leaving so many folks out. And so we seek to do this research so that fundraisers know how to really better engage everybody. Women donors are part of that everybody. And so it's everything from, why are you approaching a woman with, we think about donor incentives, right? Well, donor incentives broadly are not necessarily a thing that women think about. If you approach them and say, you know what, with a gift this big, your name can go here, that is a turnoff. That is not even a neutral for them. And so it's a real challenge when fundraisers are just kind of bringing their standard operating procedures to these conversations, and not thinking about the specific motivations, the specific family situation, where the money came from, what this specific woman's desires or dreams are for the world, for her children, grandchildren, etc. And so that's really what we want to see happen with the research. And so I do find that our research broadly is showing that women are more relational, and want to be more collaborative with their giving. And that can look like any number of things. So it can look kind of at the minimal level, like me sitting down at my kitchen table with my three best friends, and we kind of talk about our philanthropy, where we want our charitable dollars to go. Is there anything that we want to do together? What have we learned about our different experiences? It can look like formally joining a giving circle, which is essentially where everyone puts a certain amount of money into the pot, and then you can grant out a larger amount, and that can be something that you vote on, something that only leadership figures out for you, etc. But we know that women are the vast majority of Giving Circle members, and that many Giving Circles are really built for women. And this is a really unique way of women interacting in philanthropy.